Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr. Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about OP's parents who are having a sixth child they cannot afford. So they demand OP to give them OP's college fund. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I am my parents' second child. I have 3 brothers, 21, 13, and 7, and a sister who's 16. We grew up poor and our parents were often dependent on financial help from relatives, friends, etc., for raising us. This is because, even though my dad has a mediocre job, my mom doesn't work. They just kept on popping out one kid after another. My parents are very religious and believe the children are a gift from God. Personally, I think it's total bullcrap. My parents' reproductive choices wouldn't have bothered me if it hadn't caused mine and my siblings' lives to turn to crap. While growing up, we never had new clothes or toys. We had to accept handouts from family members who were better off. We never went out or did anything fun. To top it off, we were all aware that the rest of the family looked down on us for constantly asking for handouts. Now, my older brother and I have managed to get into good colleges and are looking forward to a future that would be better than our parents' lives. He and I are staying at our parents' place for a while due to the COVID-19 lockdown. One morning, my parents called all 5 of us into the living room. Mom said she had great news. The smile that was forming on my face died a quick death when she said, "We're pregnant." I lost my temper. I asked them how could they be so stupid and irresponsible. Do they not have enough financial troubles already? that they have to bring another mouth to feed? My older brother tried to calm me down, but I was livid. After a lifetime of scarcity because of my parents' stupidity, they still hadn't learned their lesson. I asked them how they planned to provide for the kid. My dad told me I would have to give up the money our great uncle had left me. He had left all 5 of us some money, which only we could access when we turned 18. I said, heck no! That money would help pay for my college expenses. He called me selfish for not being there for the family. I told him if they couldn't provide for the kid, they should get an abortion. My mom started crying and called me a heartless monster. Dad told me he was disgusted with me. I told him there was no way I was going to pay for their stupidity, and the only thing I would be willing to pay for is a termination. What I was really worried about was my siblings' lives getting even worse. My older brother and I have escaped our parents' clutches, but the others, especially my younger sister, will be expected to help take care of this baby. No teenager deserves to have their adolescence ruined by diapers and a screaming baby. I know what it's like, as I had to go through that. It was expected of me to be an unpaid nanny to my younger brothers and sister, but I had to stay home and help give baths and feed the toddlers. I decided to get some family members involved so they could talk some sense into my parents. Called my mom's maternal cousin. She's one of my favorite people. When I told her that Mom and Dad were having another kid, she reacted with, "What? Again?" I told her everything, and how they expected me to hand over my inheritance. She said she was going to speak with my parents, and told me not to sign over anything. I promised her I wouldn't. Of course I won't. I also called 2 of my first cousins, one of whom is an accountant, so she could explain to my parents how much of a financial liability this baby is going to be, and try to convince them either to abort or give it up for adoption. I moved out of my parents' home a few days ago. I was only going to stay there till the lockdown was relaxed. But I just can't bear to listen to my mom's nagging about how this baby is a blessing, and that I want to kill it. I moved into a friend's basement for minimal rent. My mom's cousin paid them a visit about a week ago, and tried to tell them they weren't doing this child any favors by bringing it into a life of poverty. My mom was very rude to my aunt, and told her a woman who chose to remain barren will never understand a mother's love. My aunt never wanted kids, nor had any. One of the reasons she's my fave. My dad told her to get out. Aunt told me there was nothing she could do, but she did try. I didn't blame her. The cousin tried to explain the economic impact this kid would have, and my mom cried about how everyone was trying to take away her baby. What the heck? The intervention didn't do garbage. So now I've decided to cut contact with my parents. I just can't watch my family slide further and further into a hole. I'll be maintaining contact with my sister, just to make sure my parents can't brainwash her. My older brother is going to stay in touch with all of them, which is a good thing as he can act as a link between me and the other siblings, if my parents ever forbid them from talking to me. Otherwise, I'm done with these people. Update. Yesterday afternoon, I got a call from my older brother. He told me that my mom has miscarried. This is hardly surprising, as she's in her 40s. I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me. My siblings' lives would not be worsened by my parents' insistence on adding another mouth to feed, on an already tight budget. My sister would not be asked to give up her inheritance so they could have money for their new baby. My brother told me my mom had been crying, and while I did not feel bad for her, I was still glad to hear about the miscarriage. I feel like we all dodged a huge bullet. Bro asked me to move back in for a while to help comfort my mom. I told him I wasn't going to move in because 1, my college would reopen in the next few days, and 2, I'm done with all the family drama. However, I did agree to come visit my mom, if only out of courtesy. In the evening, I went over to my parents' house. I took chocolate chip muffins from my mom, which I know she likes. My sister greeted me at the door and told me Mom had been in bed all day. After greeting my dad, I went to their bedroom. Mom was sitting up on the bed. I told her I was sorry about what happened and placed the muffins on the bedside table. She looked at me angrily, then threw the muffins at me. She screamed at me that she had lost her baby because of me. She said I'd caused her stress and that's what caused her to miscarry. She said I was probably glad to see her baby was dead, which is true, but of course I didn't point that out. She called me a witch and said I had wished this upon her. She was screaming so loudly, all of my siblings and my dad came rushing into the bedroom. She yelled at me to get out. I did. I hugged my older brother and sister before I left. My DD told me my mom was right, that my cruelty had caused her to miscarry. I told him that was grossly unfair accusation and reminded him that Mom's age, it was quite common to miscarry. Then I walked out. I'm so done with my parents and their stupidity. I can only hope they won't try for another kid. Well, of course they will try for another one. Then demand your money as compensation for you having killed the last one. That is a bullcrap argument, and you should be ready for it. They've shown you who they are now, and there's no reason not to believe them. Most especially, don't let them know anything about your finances, lest they use that as information to calculate the demand that will cause you the most pain, if you comply. Story 2. My roommate is 22, but failed at basic adulting because her parents failed their job. She presents herself as the cute, kind, understanding, innocent girl when she's with other people. I was fooled by this too. It's why I agreed to be her roommate, because I thought she's a nice person. But she's a failure at basic adulthood. We became roommates a few months ago, and I can't wait to move out next month. At first, everything was normal. Then it got bad. She fails at basic cleaning. She let her pet starve and live in its own feces. I think she should be reported for animal abuse because that poor animal would have been starved to death already if I hadn't been feeding it. She made the house dirty, hair everywhere, mess in the kitchen, the weird smell from her room, and I've been doing all of the cleaning. She only cleans when I get really ticked and tell her to clean up. And I really hate how she always pulls the innocent little girl thing whenever I tell her your bad hygiene is damaging our living conditions. A few days ago, she caused a little drama at our school because she disappeared for 2 days straight. She didn't respond to anyone's calling or texting. People thought she went missing. I panicked too because the area we live in isn't very safe for a young woman. I really don't like her, but still, I don't want anything bad to happen to her. Eventually, yesterday, she returned home, looking normal, and said she'd gone over to a friend's place. Her parents panicked and somehow got my number. I told them she's returned home safely. They told me they believe their daughter is now depressed or something. There's no diagnosis, though. She has stopped going to school all of a sudden, refuses to talk to them, and they couldn't hear from her for days, etc. I was weirded out because I didn't notice she actually has dropped out. I do notice she's home a lot, but we have different schedules, so I didn't think I told them she has returned home safely, but they couldn't calm down. Now the annoying part begins. We are living in another country for college, so we're both far away from home. I understand that they worry about their child's safety. My parents worry about me too. Therefore, I always text them and let them know what I'm doing, and I'm safe. But my roommate's parents? I can see why she became distant from them. Ever since her mom got my number, she constantly rants about how they think her daughter is depressed and requires help. Her daughter wouldn't talk to her. She's heartbroken and desperately wants to know how is her daughter doing. She talked about how they were protective and strict about parenting when she grew up. No wonder she fails at basic adulthood. They didn't teach her crap. Because her daughter once left the house for 2 days and didn't contact anyone, she now believes that her daughter is never home. Ever since she got home, her mom has texted me 4 times from 10 to 8, asking if her kid's at home, and I say she is. But she wouldn't believe me and just kept talking. She even asked me if my roommate would pretend to be home but is actually out. I told her that's impossible because our bedrooms are connected and I can hear her. She's home. She just kept talking about how her daughter is so weak and helpless, and she needs help. I told her they definitely spoil their fragile little angel. She asked me how far is our apartment from the campus. I said it's 20 minutes to walk and a 10-minute bus ride. And she thinks this is way too far from the school. She thinks a 10-minute bus ride or 20-minute walk is too much for her child. I have stopped responding to her texts because it's annoying. They even try to pay me $100 to take care of her, like take her out to dinner or something like that, but I politely refused. Because why the heck should I do that? Why is your daughter's messy life my responsibility? After I politely said no, the mother said she needs our address. She's gonna come to this country and move in with her daughter. Then she's gonna take her daughter home. Oh my God, lady, you really need to calm down. Of course I said no to her. She said she wished I can sympathize with a heartbroken, lonely mother. For God's sakes, I have my own life, lady. I understand your situation, but really, I am not your daughter's babysitter. After her parents realized I don't give a crap, they tried to get our address from my other friends. Some of the friends in our school, those parents whose kids were all from our country, have this group chat in our chatting app so they can know about how their kids are doing at school. I honestly think this is so unnecessary because most of us are at least 19. How come a 19-year-old need your daily checkup? But after witnessing my 22-year-old roommate fails at basic adulthood, I started to understand why these parents have such a group chat. Her parents found the number of a friend of mine in this chat and started texting her. They asked her instead. She was asking what is going on with all of these. Okay, here's what I accidentally deleted in my original text by editing. I'm gonna reorganize my writing and tell the rest of the situation. Here's what happened after they couldn't get my information from my friend. My friend politely told them she can't help them, and I ignored their texts for a day. Then I told them politely to stop contacting me, and that I am not gonna let them live with me. Her mom replied saying that they had finally convinced their daughter to come home, so they are not gonna bother me again. Thank goodness. I am completely fine with it if her parents just want to quickly stop by our place and take her home. But when they first mentioned this, they meant to live with us, not quickly stop by and take her home. They knew their daughter isn't willing to come home, so her mother thought it would be a good idea for her to come live with us. I absolutely do not want to be forced to live with some random old lady who I know nothing of, who has a completely different lifestyle and schedule. I don't think I'm being cold or selfish by doing this. After all, I am paying for half of everything for the apartment, and it says in the lease you can't just bring someone else in to live in the house without an agreement. I want to state that I am not being cold or cruel to my roommate and her parents. I understand that she's probably suffering from depression, and her parents worry about her. But her action has seriously affected my life and our living conditions. She keeps a guinea pig's cage in our living room, and because she rarely cleans it, the whole living room smells like its feces. The poor animal never asked to be adopted by someone like this. I've been feeding it water and food, and I believe if I wasn't there, it had been dead already. She would literally leave her pet completely alone for 2 or 3 days, not giving it any food or cleaning. The poor thing lives in its own feces. So many times I had to knock on her door to get her to clean this stinking cage. She also leaves messes in the kitchen and bathroom. I've been doing most of the cleaning. I think I deserve to live with a clean house, and the house wouldn't be so dirty if I lived alone. When my roommate first stopped caring about her pet and hygiene, I tolerated her. Even when I was ticked about the dirtiness, I always made sure to speak to her in a calm and neutral voice. I always simply told her, "Hey, your pet really needs cleaning. Hey, the sink is quite dirty after your dinner." I never called her names or cursed her. The only time I raised my voice to her is when her pet's cage started attracting bugs and flies. I was so angry about even that. I only said, "You should give your pet to someone else if you can't take care of it. Your pet is attracting flies into our home now." I chose to tolerate her for months because I remember when I was younger, I too suffered from depression and couldn't function very well. So I thought she deserved to have some time to improve as I did. But none of my kindness and patience has worked. Her actions not only affects me, but an innocent living thing. So please do not think I'm cold or cruel to her. I really am not. About her parents, I showed my kindness and patience too, because I totally understand why they were so worried about her. Your child is living in another country, is probably depressed, is distant from you, and would disappear from home for days. And the only one you can contact is her roommate. Yes, I understand this 100%. That's why I agreed to let them get my number. They texted me day and night, and I answered all of her mother's nonsense questions. I also made sure to speak politely to them even when I was really upset with them. But it's clear they don't respect my privacy and boundaries. I am totally okay with helping them confirm if their daughter is safe and at home, but I can't let them assume I'm willing to be her babysitter. Also, what kind of babysitter is worth only $100? I have my own life, my own school to deal with, and I don't have time to deal with their family business. It was also very shady of them to harass my friend for my privacy. I am also living by myself in another country, being far away from my family. Do my parents not worry about my safety? She's not the only one who has loving parents. She's not the only one who's having difficulties living in another country alone. I cried a lot when I had difficulties in another country. My parents worried sick about me as well, but they have never tried to move in with me against mine and my roommate's will. They also have never harassed my friend to get my information. I too once suffered from depression when I was younger, and so are a lot of my friends. But none of us were this dirty and lazy when we went through all of that. So no, I am tired of tolerating all of her actions. For the pet, I plan to let our local animal shelter know about it as soon as I can tomorrow. I will definitely want them to either take the guinea pig away or give it to someone better. I don't mind taking care of it when I move out to my new place. Poor thing has been suffering from her. Also, about the parents' group chat, I am totally fine with parents caring about their children's lives. But seriously, the big reason why they have this group chat is because we have so many immature, childish, irresponsible students in the campus who are from my country, and it's always the parents who raise them this way. I've had friends, I'm talking about friends from my country, in our school that went through very similar things. Like they were forced to live with irresponsible students from our countries. They are forced to do all the cleaning for the whole house because those spoiled children wouldn't. When I talked to a friend of mine about this, he told me we have way too many students from our countries acting like your roommate in this school. This is nothing new, and trust me, it's always the parents. Block them and speak to whoever's in charge of housing. Tell them you're being harassed and your personal information is given to someone else's parents without you or your parents' permission. Call your parents and have them put it on the group parent chat that they'll pursue legal action if they don't stop harassing you and the other students. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story's about an EM who calls the police on OP for stealing her daughter, who is OP's girlfriend and an adult. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.